Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Los Angeles Black Workers Center 2021 Black Futures Now Town Hall. My name is Julia Smith, and I am a SEIU 2015 member organizer, and I'm also the at-large representative for Park Mesa Community Heights Neighborhood Council. I'm very excited to be here tonight because I believe and know that Black families, Black communities,
Julia, I think you muted yourself.
oh, can you guys hear me now?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, good evening and welcome. Welcome to the Los Angeles Black Workers Center 2021 Black Futures Now Town Hall. I want to thank everyone for showing up. And my name is Julia Smith, and I am a SEIU 2015 member organizer, and I'm also the at-large representative for Park Mesa Heights Community Council. Tonight is a very exciting event. And I'm here tonight because I know that Black families, Black communities, Black lives cannot thrive without Black jobs. I'm very excited to co-host this evening, and I'd like to introduce Ted Booker. And Ted, can you please share with us why you're here and why you got involved?
Thank you so much, Julia. Just before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everyone that took out the time tonight to join us on the on our town hall meeting tonight. I want you to know that tonight is an interactive night. At any segment of the program, you feel the need to comment, please do so in the chat. Your voice is important to us and we want to hear from you. So for me, how did I get involved in this work? Well, I'm passionate about civic engagement. I know that if we don't speak up for ourselves, then no one else is going to do it for us. So it's important for us to take charge of our lives. There's a history of discrimination and racism that on many of fronts and various intersections that Black people have been faced with. There's a serious problem today about perception and value. We have so many issues going on with us around Black people because of perception and value. Our value isn't as important as it should be, and the way in which we are viewed by others is an issue to me. What brings me here is the work. I've been impressed by the work of the Black Workers Center. There's a lot of time and a lot of effort been put in the plight of Black people, and just to bring rise to an attention to this whole issue of tonight's subject, which is the Black jobs crisis. I think it's important for us to be able to rally around the effort and to work as a collective. And change will only happen. History tells us that when we work as a collective, that's when change happens. And it also happens when we have allies that jump on board with us and the causes that we are pursuing. So that's why I'm involved in the work.
Awesome. Well, before we begin tonight's webinar, I'd just like to add, we are here to discuss Black equity, Black jobs, and justice for our community. I have a lot of respect for all of the panelists here tonight, and I look to them for leadership. And I know that they are equipped to push this agenda and deliver our agenda. Tonight, we are honored to have the Honorable Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell, Isaac Bryan, Assemblyman for the 54th District, and also Curren Price, representing District 9. Before we start the webinar, we have a wonderful performance for you. This performer, I was so inspired when I saw her. I said to myself, this queen is moving with the ancestors. Her name is Alicia Weiss, She's an award-winning published poet, teaching artist, and TEDx speaker. She's also the co-founder of Spoken Literature Art Movement and the director of program development for Street Poet Incorporated, an organization mostly serving juvenile injustice involved youth with mentorship and arts program. Presenting Alicia Weiss.
Can folks hear Alicia? Sorry.
No.
Can folks hear that?
Everyone, thank you, Los Angeles Black Workers Center. Thank you to all the viewers. I'm so honored to be here. I'm going to be presenting one piece that is a mixture of a kind of old poem.
Okay, give me 1 second. 1 second, y'all. Can folks hear? Okay, great.
Mixed with a mostly new one that I wrote specifically for today, and I've grown to appreciate after reading over and over. So thank you so much for having me. It is my honor, and here we go. I'm a real good Negro. I smell right, and when I don't, I wash up good. I wash so hard it hurts. I love stiff. I don't ask no questions. Trim my glass, trim my voice, trim my hair. I clock in on time. I clock in. I'm always working. God say some hour he gonna give me a break. Got patience in my heart. Got soap in my mouth. Got manners. Got Jesus Christ. Got new shoes. Got so many cliffs to walk off. These hands, my mama's hands. These hands, my father's. I used to find shame in how rough they felt. Who gonna wanna hold hands like these? Used to slip my palms inside my pockets. Nothing inside but a buck, a little lint. Nothing inside but a reminder of all we've spent. All my mamas, all my daddies too, an outcast in a cozy caste system. These hands like mine hurt. Hands like mine have worked and scrubbed and soaked to forget. But hands like mine, remember, always keep your pride, always follow the curve in the lines. These hands tell a filch fortune, a hacked history. Yet these dark hands, conjurers of light, say, let there be always work and witness, reassurance and rest, top quality moisturizer and ash-free. Hands like these, bougie, ought to be, and got no right not to. Didn't build too much for the dead, didn't build too much for dying, then damn near beat the block off our own asses for refusing to slip and to surrender. These hands boxed with erasure, below the belt, above the bar, between a 24-hour shift. These hands, this, that, these fists, this grip, wet for the blood beneath the carpet we were forced to lay, for the bodies inside the walls we were forced to build. These hands got down reluctantly, dirty, spent the majority of our restraint trying to brush ourselves so pearly and so pretty it stings. Yet we work and we work and we bring our hands but are asked to not leave our prints. So we growl at erasure, we grit our teeth, we utter no more, no more, no more is now. And these hands form a fierce demand, a command for abundance. These hands high like a bouquet of sweat and soul in the sky, but at least we fly. But at least meet us where we are. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alicia, for that beautiful performance. If you were moved like I was by anything that was said and feel the need to comment, please do so in the chat at this time.
Thank you, Alicia. Once again, I was so inspired by your performance. And also, now we will prepare ourselves for public, we'll prepare ourselves for comments and for opening remarks by a true champion, a true public servant Senator Steven Bradford. We thank you for your support and we commend you for doing the work and walking the walk with us. Senator Bradford, opening comments, please.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I appreciate all the great work that the Black Workers Center has done and will continue to do to advance the causes of African-American workers, especially in the public sector. You guys are the frontline warriors for many of us. You make up the majority of the public sector population. And so again, I want to thank you for this invitation. I also want to give a special shout out to Ms. Bailey for inviting me to be a part of that, as well as the panel of elected officials who will be having a discussion with you guys tonight as well, talking about the importance of the work that you do on a daily basis. And as we know, the pandemic has had a tremendous impact on African-American workers. And we made up almost 84% of workers, African-American workers, I should say, sought some kind of assistance during pandemic. That's more than half of the state average. And again, African-Americans make up the majority of the public sector workers. And as we know, you're the lifeblood and the backbone for much of what we do on a daily basis in our communities. Black workers make up 40% of their income is from the public sector work, more so than in the private sector. So that what you do, again, is critically important. And that's why I was happy to lend my voice and advocate for $3.5 million that we were able to secure in this year's budget for the Los Angeles Black Workers Center, hopefully to be named the Reverend James Lawson Black Workers Center soon. And a center that provides not only training for folks currently in the workforce, but also training for those folks who are seeking jobs in the public sector. And the work that you will do and continue to do to train the next workforce is vitally important. I'm happy, again, to partner in any kind of way through my office to continue to assist that which you do. And I appreciate you reaching out to my office, asking me to be a part of this, and just like I say, to bring opening remarks. And I just also want to congratulate and commend the young lady for the performance. It was very inspiring, and those who weren't moved by it, I doubt I should say if anyone wasn't moved by it. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I will stop right now. But again, congratulations for the work that you do. Again, I'm excited about helping in any kind of way. And if my office can continue to be of assistance to the Los Angeles Black Workers Center, again, the bedrock of making sure that folks that look like us have jobs, who are trained for public sector work, again, the lifeblood of what we do, not only here in California, but across this nation, I'll be happy to be a part of it. So I will stop right there.
Thank you, Senator. And
Thank
now,
you.
and now we will prepare to hear from our members. They're going to share their stories. And I'm very proud of this young lady. She's been a pillar in the community, a strong fighter for justice. Ms. Trina, please.
Hey, BWC friends and family. I am so excited to be here with all you beautiful Black people tonight. I would be remiss not to say, give a special shout out to Senator Bradford. He has definitely put his money where his mouth is. I am Trina Traylor, longtime member of the Black Workers Center. I'm a member of the Political Education Committee, which is hosting this event. The committee was created to make sure Black folks knew what the hell they were voting for on ballot measures. And now we are working towards building relationship with Black elected officials and holding them accountable to healing Black futures. I'm also a member of the Worker Justice Organizing Committee, grassroots leadership committee that guides and drives campaigns as well as membership, outreach, recruitment, and participation. We have a wellness committee that makes sure that we're taking care of ourselves while doing this work, a phone bank committee that does the phone calling to turn out folks for events and meetings, and a worker advisory committee that is comprised of industry experts and assist our people in navigating real life challenges as well as troubleshooting workplace challenges that may arise in the course of employment. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a member-led organization that is focused on equal access to quality jobs and a discrimination-free workplace so Black families can thrive. I joined the Black Work Center while studying labor and helped uncover there were no Black on the multi-billion-dollar Metro Rail Crenshaw LAX project going straight through our neighborhood. So we launched our hashtag Do You See Me Now campaign because we were invisible on that site. They claimed that they couldn't find Black construction workers. We were able to get the project up to 19% Black. Black Workers Center also led the fight for the $15 minimum wage alongside SEIU 2015 and other coalition partners. Has anyone here heard of the Civil and Human Rights Ordinance? I want to ask folks to raise their hand if they have heard of the Civil and Human Rights Ordinance. After extensive research, it was revealed that the biggest issue for Black workers is discrimination on the job and hiring practice. Like when I applied for the County of Los Angeles with a degree from UCLA, scored 94 on the exam, and was essentially told that I was unfit because of a 25-year-old low-level felony. We work with city officials like Curren D to create the local office where folks can file a discrimination claim. Because for most of us, trying to prove discrimination and navigate the DEFH and the EEOC, which is the state and the federal agencies, is challenging to say the least. We now have a local office that sole purpose is to assist us in filing claims. Those are just a few of our victories. For me, fighting for Blacks to have access to quality jobs and a discrimination-free workplace so Black families can thrive is a way of life. I know that when we come together and fight, we win. So I encourage each and every one of you to join this fight and become a member of the Black Workers Center. So please, everyone, make sure you sign in on the sign-in sheets, or you can go to the website, lablackworkercenter.org to join. This is how we build capacity, build power within our communities, and end the Black jobs crisis.
All right. Thanks, Trina. Y'all fired up? Y'all gotta be fired up, right? I know you're fired up. Yes. Thanks, Trina. If you are not already a member of the LA Black Worker Center, I know after hearing from Trina, you are ready to join us in leading the charge to build power for Black workers, right? Let me hear from some members in the chat. I know we got some members online, right? We got 100 people up in here. Where the members at? Where my members at? Let me hear y'all in the chat. Share with us why you believe in the BWC and building Black worker power. I want to see y'all. I want y'all to blow this chat up. I want to hear from y'all right now. What y'all doing tonight? I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. You could be doing anything else, right, this evening, but you chose to be here because you believe in the mission and vision of the LA Black Worker Center. You know that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win, right? My name is Khalil. I'm a member of the Political Education Committee and a proud member of the Los Angeles Black Worker Center since 2016. Where my proud members at? Let me see y'all in the chat. I'm looking at y'all. I'm looking for y'all. I know y'all here. I just want to take a minute to, just talk a little bit about the Black jobs crisis. I'm privileged to be fully employed with a living wage with great benefits. And, that may be true for some of you tonight. But for too many of us, that is not our reality. And no matter my situation or yours, I am in this fight because we are all in this fight together until justice is real. When people think about labor, they often just think of having a job. What we often fail to discuss is how having a quality job impacts every aspect of our lives. Having a good job allows us to pay the rent, put food on the table. It also provides access to life-saving healthcare. But in the city of Los Angeles, more than 50% of all Black workers were unemployed or underemployed before the pandemic. And now, right now, more than 83% of Black workers have filed for unemployment statewide. 83%, y'all. 83%. I know that number is startling, right? That's not okay. Y'all hear that? 83%. Y'all hear that number? Let me see y'all in the chat. Y'all hear that number, right? 83%. This denies our right to have good health care, safe living conditions, and putting food on the table. So we are here tonight to continue fighting and working together to end the Black jobs crisis. This is nothing new, right? And in fact, this is work that the LA Black Worker Center has been doing for years. And over the years, as Trina pointed out, we have seen much success, right? One campaign after campaign, because of people like you that demand equity for Black workers. We are here tonight to join together in the fight for equity, justice, quality jobs for all Black workers, and to hold the people we elected and that represent us accountable to each and every one of us, our families, and all Black workers. We demand change. We demand action. We're not gonna be here next year with 85, 50%.
You're
or
what?
Madam Supervisor, yeah. All right.
We good? Madam Supervisor, she's excited to talk to us. She's ready to have this conversation. But yeah, like I was saying, like, you know, we're not gonna be here next year with 50% or even 30% Black unemployment or underemployment, right? That's not gonna be our story, right? That's what we're here for tonight. We're gonna change that. We're gonna change those numbers. We're gonna change the conditions for Black workers and all workers. Because when Black workers rise, we all rise. When we can pay our bills, afford healthcare, afford rent or mortgage with one job, not two or three or more, right? When there's equity for Black workers, we all rise. So I want to ask y'all a question tonight. Please, respond in the poll, because I know this impacts all of us in different ways, and we want to hear from y'all. We want to engage y'all on this topic and how the Black jobs crisis has impacted you. How are you or someone you know been impacted by the Black jobs crisis? So we're gonna give y'all a minute or two. Well, probably not a minute, like 30 seconds. 30 seconds for real. Answer the poll, right? Yeah, 30 seconds. So we're gonna give you a second to answer the poll. We want to hear from you and get your feedback, because we know this is the issue that we are all here to fight for, and that is vital and critical to our livelihood and the wellness and safety of our communities. And this is what we're here to change. And I'm gonna pass it over to Sherry.
All right. Thank you so much, Khalil. Let's give it up for Khalil and his uplifting and powerful words and amazing energy. Try to get the poll results. Guess I'm gonna have to get that from admin later in the program, because we definitely want to hear from you all, right? So so thank you for your participation in that poll. Like you said, we're gonna get the results back to you soon. allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sherry Bell. I am a member of the Political Education Committee. We are the committee that put this event on for you guys tonight. We want to thank you so much for being here, and I promise we're going to get to the nitty-gritty. I'll be brief. I've been a member of the LA Black Worker Center since 2012, and I joined the LA BWC because I wanted change for Black workers, I wanted equity, and I wanted economic justice, right? And I also wanted an opportunity for my daughter not to struggle as hard as I did to get access to quality work. Wow, just got the poll results in. About 98% of you guys have known someone who has been impacted by the Black jobs crisis, either yourself or someone you love or know. So that's pretty significant. Yeah, so that goes to show why I became a member, right? Because I found out that the Black jobs crisis was not only just impacting me, it was a systemic issue. And like I mentioned, I don't want my daughter, and none of us want our kids to struggle, right? So, you know, like I started at the BWC as an unemployed single parent on public assistance. And even with a graduate degree, I was caught up in endless job training programs without a job in sight, like many Black workers in the Black jobs crisis. Promises, promises, promises. I now am a public sector worker, but I will not be where I am today without targeted outreach and recruitment of underrepresented workers and meaningful partnerships between hiring agencies and community-based organizations like the Black Worker Center. The 1,000 Strong campaign is an answer for a more equitable economy. Public sector jobs and other quality careers are a pathway to the middle class, and they can provide stability for Black families who have been destabilized by years of bad policies intended to maintain racial oppression and the status quo. Therefore, we have to be intentional, right, about addressing those staggering statistics that Khalil mentioned. The 1,000 Strong campaign is that intentional effort in response to the fact that only 8% of us live in LA County. However, 34% of us comprise the unhoused population, and 24% of us comprise the unemployed. That's not considering the underemployed, but the unemployed. The 1,000 Strong initiative is an effort to place 1,000 Black workers in quality careers by 2022. This includes studying how we can make sure Black workers have direct access to training, placement, and present opportunities for workers without degrees to have meaningful careers. We also want to invest in those partnerships that I mentioned that got me where I am today, with meaningful targeted outreach and recruitment for underrepresented workers. For decades, Black workers have been left out of recovery efforts, such as the $1 trillion infrastructure plan that's going to be trickling down to our local governments. If we're not intentional about ensuring that money goes to directly impact these numbers, it won't happen. So that's why we need you. We definitely need our decision makers, but we also need the folks on the line, you know, to make sure that this happens. We need you to become a member. Click the link in the chat, sign up, get involved. And I'm pretty talking long enough. So now I'm going to pass the mic back to our lovely hosts, Ted and Julia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Before we go to start our next segment, I just want to speak to the audience again. If you feel passionate about anything that was said in this the last segment, feel free to go ahead and place your comment in the chat. We welcome your responses, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in the earlier polls. And now we are going to prepare ourselves for our panel discussion. The panelists will have 4 minutes to tell us a little something about themselves and to answer questions. We will first ask one question to all the panelists, and then we will go on to our group questions. The first question will go to the Honorable Holly Mitchell. And we would like to know, what is your office doing to ensure equity, accountability, and transparency in addressing the Black jobs crisis? Supervisor Mitchell?
First of all, good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me tonight. I want to start by making a global statement that I think is going to impact all of us, and the Black Workers Center needs to be aware and hopefully engage. We are confronting an issue that I would characterize as Black erasure of Black workers, erasure of Black leaders, erasure of prioritizing the Black community. And given the broad perspective that Black Workers Center brings to the table often, lots of conversation and chat about your engagement in electoral politics. I just think it's important to notice that, at this point in time, through the redistricting process, through a variety of actions, I think that we are at serious risk of Black erasure. As a Black elected official, I'm clear that the districts and the communities that I've represented my entire elected life have been quite diverse, but I also understand the responsibility I bring to the table every day as a Black woman, as a Black elected official, fighting for and advocating on behalf of Black people. And that can be seen in my work throughout my elected career prior to joining the LA County Board of Supervisors, everything from my votes and support in ending wage theft, to the Crown Act, to right-sizing the criminal justice system, to the work we've done to really empower Black people to be able to enter the workforce without restrictions and without one arm tied behind our back. And so I hope all of us can really find a space to talk about the impact Black erasure will have on all of our abilities to be successful, to educate our children, to own property, and to be able to, live freely here in LA County. Really proud to have joined the county just under a year ago now, and have taken full advantage of the painful experience that COVID and the economic pandemic that followed, and recognizing it's had a disproportionate impact on us, but attempting to turn this into an opportunity for Black people by prioritizing equity and how the county spends its ARPA funds. Very thrilled to have an anti-racist initiative at the county level, an anti-Black initiative with a Black man at the helm of it, where we are looking to his leadership, and I am doing all I can to empower him and give him the resources he needs to create a platform and a lens by which all county departments must use in order to validate how they're going to invest not only their county budget, but their ARPA dollars. And so we've worked very hard to create this equity lens that will govern the allocation of resources. If you know anything about me, you know my history as chair of the budget committee in the legislature. That was always my goal, because I believe resource allocation is how Black people find equity and parity. And so those investments that Senator Bradford talked about, he was able to leverage for the Black Workers Center. That's why elections matter, and why us being in positions of power and authority can help bring resources to Black people in the Black community. We've got an economic mobility initiative to help women and people of color who are small business owners and micro business owners. An equity and contracting initiative to help Black-owned businesses have access to the county in terms of their contracting. So I'm proud of the work that we've been able to do to bring forward issues that are important to Black folks. And I'll take a step back and talk about this pandemic, making sure that the Black community, South Los Angeles specifically, had access to testing and vaccinations to keep all of us healthy so that we could continue to go to work and provide for our families. I have partnered with the Black Workers Center my entire elected life and will continue to do so. I look to you for leadership and clarity in terms of how we can leverage government resources in order to be supportive. And I look to you to help me, to make sure that you have my back and you step up when I need your help to make the 9% of Black LA County's voices heard. And sometimes that's hard. And so we've got to make some mutual agreements how we as your elected officials expect you to hold us accountable, but we also need you all to show up and sometimes show out to support us in the policies we're bringing forward on your behalf.
Thank you for your response, Supervisor Mitchell. Thank you for your hard work, and thank you for your service. The same question is for Isaac Bryan, Assembly Member, 54th District. And the question is, what is your office doing to ensure equity, accountability, and transparency in addressing the Black job crisis?
Julia, it's always good to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Like meeting with the Black Worker Center is like it's a family reunion. We've been doing this for a long time, since back when my brother Delvin Turner wrote the white paper about trying to get local discrimination control down here at the local level, sent it up to Senator Bradford, who ran the bill, and we've been fighting ever since. At the state level, a lot of people don't know that right now, when you have a discrimination case, you've got to take it to the state level. And so being a state official, the first thing that I can do is make sure that my office answers that phone call and walks you all the way through filing your case, and teaches you that you don't have to file a federal case too, that you can cross-file with us. And not only that, we got Black folks on the other end of that phone who are answering that phone call, walking you through, because we've lived it. We feel it in our communities. One of the reasons I ran for office is because the people who have been most impacted by a problem are the people who should be the closest to the solutions and the decision-making at the table. And the pandemic hit us the hardest. It hit Black workers, it hit Black communities, it hit Black small businesses, it hit Black renters, it hit Black homeowners, it hit Black people across the entire gamut. And then we found out something that they told us for the last year we didn't have, which was money. They told us the state of California was going to be broke. You remember that, Senator Bradford? And then sure enough, we came around with $75 billion in surplus. And what we do with that money, we put $3.5 million into the Black Worker Center, $15 million into the UCLA Labor Center, because we know Lola Smallwood's over there, and when you connect research resources, you can really do some good. We put $3.5 million into the Southern California Association of Governments Workforce Development and Training Program, $600 million into community economic resilience, $147 million in Main Street small business tax credits. We did a $30 million homeless hiring tax credit. So if you're a business and you hire one of our houseless brothers and sisters off the streets, the state's going to pick up the tab on that wage, because we know we can't say Black at the state level. Thanks to Prop 209, we've been trying to roll that back for some years. But if we say houseless, we know that's disproportionately going to impact Black folks, because we're over 40% of those who are unhoused right now. But the main thing that I want to work on in my office, having only been here for about 6 months, is make sure that that $75 billion surplus that we've allocated to all kinds of small business initiatives, to all kinds of community initiatives to help Black folks, poor and indigenous communities as well, that money's accounted for. Don't just send it out the door and shout out these big numbers, 1.5 billion, 6 billion, 4 billion in small business grants. Tell me where it actually went. Show me the businesses who got that money. Show me the people who got hired with that. Because I'm not content with just having a press headline. We need to follow that money all the way to the end of the source. And so that's what we're working on in my office. But first and foremost, if you face discrimination, and we face it disproportionately more than any other community, call my office. Let's file your claim. Let's walk that through together. And then let's figure out what kind of policy we've got to push to keep it from ever happening again.
Once again, fire, Isaac Bryan. Thank you so much for your response, and thank you for your service. The next question is going to Councilmember Curren Price. It's the same question. What is your office doing to ensure equity, accountability, and transparency in addressing the Black jobs crisis, sir?
Well, first of all, thank you for the chance to join with members of the LA Black Worker Center and my elected colleagues who have been very eloquent in making the case for more engagement, more involvement. And so I just really am pleased to be with you and pleased to know that the Black Worker Center is not giving up, and that you're staying focused and on to it. I was very honored to co-introduce the motion that created the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department. And of course, one of the first challenges that office has is to conduct a racial equity audit, so we can see exactly what is going on with our city government and why Black folks are so disadvantaged. So we're looking forward to an audit that's going to help at least document, identify some of the problems, and hopefully some of the solutions. The motion requests that the department develop a plan to address barriers to economic stability among Black Angelenos and others by looking at ways to increase access to career path jobs, encourage entrepreneurship, and to promote small business growth in the city of LA. You know, the city is a tremendous vehicle, and we need to be using it in a way that reflects our values and concerns. So again, I'm very, very proud to partner with the Black Workers Center and other organizations that have championed this cause, this department. It has a new director, a founding director, Capri Maddox, who has certainly got a commitment, background, and skill, but she can't do it alone. And so not only elective offices have a role to play, but the public has a role to play. You've got to be holding us all accountable. And so we look forward to the report that's going to be coming out from the city. We hope to really track it and monitor it in a way that the county has been successful in doing. In many ways, the city has been lagging on that. And so, as I said, this motion that's going to create a roadmap and provide goals for what we can do and how we should be doing it better. Finally, this motion is going to request the city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance to strengthen the mayor's Executive Director 27 by establishing a racial equity task force. I know these are words. The action is really going to determine the results. This task force is going to track how general managers of various departments strengthen organizational capacity and how they are providing leadership. How they're providing leadership, how they're addressing inequalities, and how they are dealing with racial bias in their respective departments. We know that the department heads have a great deal of leeway, great deal of influence, who gets hired, who gets promoted. And so we want to make sure the light is shining all the way down on everyone that's involved in the process. Everyone needs to be accountable, everyone needs to be accessible so that we can try to solve these issues in a more collaborative, more effective, more pointed way. So my office is there for that purpose. We look forward to supporting local hire initiatives. We certainly support the 1,000 jobs strategy, and we just need to continue working at every level, state, federal, local, to make sure that we're plugging in. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to join you this evening.
Thank you, Councilman, for your response, and thank you for your service. Now we are going to prepare ourselves for individual questions, and we will start with Ms. Holly Mitchell. Many Black workers have been pushed out of LA County due to the rising cost of housing and stagnant wages. How is your office helping to address these intersecting crises?
I appreciate that. First of all, let me just take a step back. There was a question posed in chat that they interpreted my earlier comments as theory and not specific. So let me be very specific. Unlike at the state level where you have actual bill numbers, we don't have bill numbers, but we have what we call motions. So I'm going to talk about 3 very specific motions that we've already done. So people understand that I'm not talking theory, I'm talking about real work that's already taking place. Again, LA County got $1.9 billion with a B dollars from the federal government because of ARPA. And what I was not going to stand by and let happen was for it to simply be divided by 5 supervisorial districts. Those dollars needed to be targeted to communities that were disproportionately harmed by COVID. And so disproportionate harm should enjoy disproportionate investment. And that's why the equity lens and the anti-racism initiative was very important to help guide every county department in figuring out how to prioritize, quite frankly, the Black community who's had the highest hospitalization rate and the highest death rate as a result of COVID. The equity in county contracting, many Black businesses who are, quite frankly, the top employer, small businesses in our county. And so we want to support Black business who was disproportionately harmed by COVID. And so giving them a leg up and being able to figure out and manage the bureaucracy to be able to contract with the county. Again, a mobility initiative. And in this initiative, we invested over $40 million for workforce development programs and over $50 million for economic mobility, which includes loans to small businesses and micro businesses, lease assistance, and career pathways opportunities. We specifically allocated $9 million to fund something called the High Road Training Partnerships. All of these are opportunities for Black workers. This past summer, we funded out of the 2nd District budget a paid internship program to allow people to have access into the technology, given the role technology companies are now playing in Culver City, as well as bioscience, creating the opportunity to look for new sectors where Black workers can enter into that are high wage earning. With regard to LA County affordability, unfortunately, government has a limited role we can play in housing costs. California is a high cost state. And so what the state, city, and county have attempted to do is to use public lands to build affordable housing. We can't force that onto private developers in private land. Housing costs are controlled by 3 elements: labor, and we want to pay people a livable wage, material costs, and land. And so one thing government can control is land costs. So we're trying to build more workforce housing and affordable housing on land government owns to make that much more readily available. All of us here on the screen have voted for and supported minimum wage and are working very hard to increase the minority participation in public contracts. There are several at the county level that we've gotten to 70%. I'm on the Metro board. There are several Metro contracts where we've gotten to 70% local hire. So that is the new goal from my perspective, and we'll continue to push it.
That's what I'm talking about, Ms. Mitchell. We do have a few questions from the chat room. So if you could just give us a second to get that together so that the questions from the audience can be presented. One moment, please. So unfortunately, I can't see all of the questions, but I'm gonna keep it real. A lot of members are concerned that they've been disenfranchised, by Latinx, that we're competing for jobs, and we have no leverage. We're not bilingual. There's no demand for us. Can you please address that?
Well, let me just start that. First of all, I certainly hear what you're saying. The district I represent, for example, is probably about 70 or 80% Latino. And so I certainly have a personal interest in making sure that African Americans are present and accounted for in programs and policies that we're doing. When I supported the minimum wage, for example, when I first came on the council, it was important. It wasn't a Latino issue. It was certainly an issue of those who were poor, those who were working, those who were struggling. Black and brown folks sometimes working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and so we have to be aware of that. So I have been intentional in making sure that African Americans are not left out of programs and policies that we're doing. Certainly, most recently, we talked about a guaranteed basic income. We're going to be watching that program very carefully. I've insisted that there be a proportionate representation of African Americans in this pool of individuals that are going to be selected. So it's got to be intentional. It's got to be direct. There are certainly challenges because of Prop 209 and the inability to single out races in ways that would be even more, could be more beneficial. But that's why this civil and the human rights equity study is going to be so important in the city of LA. That will help pinpoint and spotlight areas that we can do better, and in ways that we can make sure that African Americans are represented across the board in programs and policies of the city.
Council member Price, one of the things I recognize, I've been doing this work now in social services for around 30 years. And one of the things that I recognize when you bring up the word equity, it's kind of like a coined phrase that everybody uses. But if you ask specifics about how do you apply principles of equity, and no one says anything, and the first thing that you will hear is that we have to consider Proposition 209. I know that in certain instances, there's situations where sometimes it only takes a person of influence to help influence change. I've been in positions, and I've worked on one of the first local hiring projects that was out. And just the mere fact that I work for the general and in the position of leadership, we were able to direct some things. And so there are ways that we can, that principle of equity can be applied to those less fortunate without having to be having 209 slammed in your face. And I think that's a major concern too. So I welcome any comments.
Absolutely. The input from the elected official, the office from the community can make a big difference. In the Lucas Museum project, for example, they've exceeded local hiring goals by almost 40%. In June, they were at this year, they were at 60% local hire. Additionally, they exceeded 20% apprenticeship goals and have achieved 77% of new apprenticeship jobs for the District 9 community, South LA community. You have to be insistent, you have to be persistent. In the Coliseum project, there was 67% of the construction workers were done by LA County, folks in South LA. That was significant. Small businesses, including those owned by women, by veterans, by minorities, earned contracts with more than $40 million on that job because there was a focus on making diversity real. When we talk about equity, similar to concerns at the county level, it's not just about dividing it by 5. We can't just divide the issue by 15 and think that that's being equitable. It's not. You may recall the $150 million that we were able to take from the police budget to be applied to community programming. Of that 150 million, there was about 88 million that was distributed to poor communities in the city of Los Angeles. CD9 got the largest portion of that $88 million, some $20 million, because we have the highest rates of poverty, highest rates of need. And so again, when we talk about making resources available, it's got to be more than just dividing it up in some equal number. We've got to look at what the impact has been in the past and how we can use these resources to help shape a better future.
Well, Ted, to talk on that point about equity, I think you're absolutely right. Like in my mind, and I know in a lot of ours, equity is centering those who have been most impacted or historically left out of good outcomes and historically overrepresented in bad outcomes. But I think we've got to get even more specific, right? I'm down to throw equity out the window and talk anti-Blackness, right? And get very direct about this, because we have to keep getting creative about the metrics we use to target resources to our communities. I'll give you an example. With Prop 209, I can't say Black at the state level. So we say things like targeted local hire. Well, targeted local hire, as the council member just mentioned, with a district that's 80% Latino, we could miss Black folks and still hire the neighborhood because the neighborhood's changed. Right now, Lancaster, now Victorville, now Moville, that's total targeted local hire if you want to hire Black folks in certain instances, because we're getting pushed out. We have to look at our job opportunities, the same with our housing opportunities, same with our education opportunities. All of these things are interconnected. And if we only focus on one part of it, we're going to miss another part, and we're going to miss our community, because our community is going to get pushed out of LA, because there's only 2 predominantly Black neighborhoods in all of Los Angeles. One is extremely affluent, View Park, second most affluent Black neighborhood in the country. And the other is Skid Row. And if we don't want that to be the case, and we want a middle plethora of neighborhoods, we've got to think about not just Black jobs, not just Black wages, but Black home ownership, Black education advancement, Black equity across the spectrum, and not just for Black men, Black women, but for Black LGBTQ folks and everyone else who's been left behind, folks who are formerly incarcerated, folks who have been touched by bad systems before, folks that we've often thought about leaving out. We've got to bring everybody to the table, and we've got to center those who have historically been left from the table.
And if I may add to that, I couldn't agree more. And I'm proud to have joined a county board of supervisors that initiated and took a motion and voted on an anti-Black initiative over a year ago. You know, the other piece is, these are important questions to ask your Black elected officials, but these are important questions to ask every elected official. Some of you may live in communities that we don't represent you. So it's about holding everybody accountable and helping us. Someone said, you know, how do you help us? Help us by inviting non-Black elected officials to future forums and ask them, how are they prioritizing Black LA? I'm glad that you're asking, that's important. We don't sometimes get that sense that they feel an obligation to Black LA, because when we put forward initiatives and want to talk Black, we are often, unfortunately, reminded about our diminishing numbers. And so let's be clear. I talked about Black erasure earlier. That's real. And so all of us have to get on the same page in terms of holding everyone accountable to promoting Black people and the Black community in Los Angeles.
Thank you for your comment. Assemblymember Isaac, you've mentioned earlier that about how your office can help a person file a discrimination case, but can you speak a little bit more on just what your office is doing to address discrimination that Black workers face in the workplace? Could you shed some more light?
Yeah, so what we do at the state level is we run bills, we run policy for the state of California. And then we try to drive resources. Oftentimes we send them to local levels of government so they can disperse them, like the $35 billion we sent for universal basic incomes, which I'm proud that Madam Supervisor actually took the helm of that and ran it to run the largest universal basic income program anywhere in the country, right here in the county. The same is said for CD9, the largest universal basic income program in any city is happening in Curren Price's district. That money came from the state, but we also run bills. So one of the bills I co-authored this year was a sunset bill, because we know that white folks with a criminal record are still more likely to be hired than Black folks without one, which means if you're Black with a criminal record, your chances are sub-zero. And the way to do a change to that, we calculated some data with some of our colleagues in the justice movement. There are 8 million people walking around California with past justice system involvement, disproportionately Black. So we architected a bill with the front lines and with our colleagues in the Senate that if you serve your time, and then you serve your time on supervision, and then you've got no contact 4 years later, that conviction should sunset and it shouldn't show up when you're applying for a job or housing or anything else. I'll tell you something, that bill died on the Assembly floor. It was 2 votes short. So to Supervisor Mitchell's point, when you're talking about the accountability we need accountability, but we've got to call for more folks in, because bills like that shouldn't die 2 votes down. It's not all the way dead. We're bringing it back in January, and I think we're going to pass it. But we need help. We need support. We also fought to end the sub-minimum wage here in California. Did y'all know that if you have a disability, an employer can hire you for less than minimum wage? When I say less than minimum wage, I don't mean the California minimum wage. I mean that federal minimum wage that hasn't moved for over a decade. Less than $7.25 an hour because you have a disability. We co-authored a bill this year. We got it signed by the governor. That's over. They can't do that anymore. It's equal pay for equal work, no matter what you look like or no matter what your ability is. We don't pay people because of their differences. We pay people because they deserve it. And so those are some of the things that my office is doing. But remember, we just got here in June. And we've been running as hard as we can to push as many things across the finish line as we can. But right now, we're busy building up the bill package for this next January. It'll be the first time we get to introduce an entire slate of bills all the way from start to finish. And I would love to work with the Black Worker Center. I would love to work with Africa Town and all of the homies up in here that are doing that good work to think about what we can do to change the condition of life in our community, what we can do to make sure that Black folks get the jobs we need, that we're hired, that we're retained, and that we're advanced to upper management, to ownership levels that we deserve to be at. Because right now we're underrepresented, and the only way we're going to change that is if we do it together.
Thank you so much.
On the LA City Council, I was proud to lead the effort to ban.
Excuse me, Assemblymember Price, Councilmember Price.
Yes.
We have a question, a very important question, specifically for Ms. Holly Mitchell. Please give us a moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jeremiah?
hi Holly. Yeah, hi Holly. I am the lead organizer here at the Black Worker Center, and we just have one question before you have to leave. So the question is from our audience: beyond gathering quantitative reporting, how are you directing engaging Black workers to better understand the barriers they are facing to obtaining and being able to retain self-sustaining employment? Again, I'll ask that question. Beyond gathering quantitative reporting, how are you directing engaging Black workers to better understand the barriers they are facing to obtaining and being able to retain self-sustaining employment?
I'm sorry I have to leave. I represent Carson, and we've got the Carson City Council is doing a town hall that I've got to join to talk about the issue with the Dominguez Channel. So I appreciate you inviting me. I think it was the assemblyman talked about the work they're doing, or maybe it was Curren, I can't remember, about collecting quantitative data. That's not what we're doing at the county. We are doing the direct work. And I think a part of it is this partnership with Black Worker Center and Black workers. You know, a frustration I often have is putting together programs that then we can't push out far enough for people to know about them. To have a paid summer internship where we weren't able to meet our goal of 100 interns in South LA is a problem. And so figuring out how we have regular communication. So in order to be able to communicate with workers about what we're doing and how they can be empowered, we also need to hear from workers themselves. I saw a reference in chat to Title VII. You know, that's valuable information. I believe that's a federal regulation, so we should talk it through. So we need to have open lines of communication consistently. I'm not dodging accountability. I'm going to stand in my truth and tell you what I can do at the county level, and I'm going to hold everybody equally accountable. So I want to work with Worker Center to bring me information. I can feed you information so you know about when we launch a program that we did today for commercial lease owners, grants from $4,000 to $40,000 when we only have a 1-week window to get the information out. So we've got to work collaboratively to share information so I can hear from you barriers you experience, and we can tell you when we've passed laws or funded programs to help relieve some of those barriers. If you hadn't heard about an internship, I suggest you sign up for my website because that's the best way in which we communicate. We do press, we work with the Black press. So short of, you know, knocking on everybody's door, help us help you. Sign up for all of our websites so you can get the information so we understand how to communicate, how to push out information. Appreciate the opportunity, and I hope you invite me back.
Thank you so much.
Our next question will be for Curren Price. And the LA City Civil and Human Rights Office has recently opened to help Black workers and others who face discrimination in the workplace. How is your office promoting the CHRO as a resource for your constituents?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Black Worker Center for your work, your advocacy, and really helping to birth this office. We know that it's specifically charged with figuring out how we can end bias, end discrimination, end opportunities for discrimination. And so since its founding, the department has really taken on a big task. This is the first time this has ever been done in the city of Los Angeles. They've got a new task force, Renew Racial Equity, Newly Empowered Workplaces. And it's one goal, and that is to root out structural racism, root it out, and to provide more equity, more fairness. And so we're going to be encouraging individuals to take advantage, to be aware of this task force, to work with it. We're going to be reviewing the work that it does, holding it accountable, but more importantly, holding elected officials accountable. It's not just about the department, it's for those who are managing the department. And so while this is still in the beginning stages, I'm confident that it can really have some impact if there is involvement, if there is a willingness to really make some changes. And so those changes got to come from inside, and I think they need to come from outside. So I'm going to continue to support the department. I'm going to continue to recommend them as a resource for any workers face discrimination. Again, this is a system that we're putting in place as we go forward. And so I'm encouraging folks to take advantage of it.
Thank you. I have a question for Assemblymember Bryan. I know the state has one of the largest budgets. Can you shed a little light on what's being done on the state level to kind of leverage funding, to create jobs that be some opportunity for Black folks?
Yeah, so one of the things that I mentioned earlier was the homeless tax credit. Was making sure that, you know, you get two tools. One is the carrot, one is the stick, right? I can either compel you to do something or I can incentivize you to do something. And so one of the approaches we've taken is, look, hire Black folks and we'll pick up the tab at the state level. Hire folks who are unhoused, we'll pick up the tab. So we put $30 million into that fund as a pilot to show that if you gave people who are unhoused a job, you got them off the streets, it changed the outcomes of their days, of their weeks, and of their lives, so that we could expand that from $30 million and bigger. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that next year. We just did that one this year. Also looking at giving $1,000 a month unrestricted incomes to women who are pregnant. We passed a omnibus bill this year to look at pregnancy-related deaths, to specifically explore the death rate for Black women during childbearing, and to make sure that they had the resources to go about taking the economic gap of childbirth. We also want to look at transition age foster youth. We try to do a universal basic income at the state level for transition age foster youth, because we know that transition age foster youth are disproportionately Black. LA County has the largest child welfare system anywhere in the world. I know because me and 8 of my brothers and sisters were all adopted out the child welfare system. After going around, I know a number of you have siblings who have been child welfare. So we invest in foster youth, we invest in Black people. And so that's the kind of thinking we've got to do at the state level. I can't say Black because of Prop 209. And we had Prop 6 on the ballot to try to roll that back. And we're going to have to shoot again to try to get affirmative action back in California. But in the meantime, we've got to find all the creative ways that our community is overrepresented and target resources there. So if I can't say Black, I'll say foster youth. I'll say houseless. I'll say within a mile of a liquor store. I'll say within a mile of an environmental hazard. I'll use whatever I got to do to make sure that we get the resources to the community that's most impacted.
But one of the things I want to do for everyone is just kind of plug an opportunity that is offered with the Black Worker Center. I know that we've been talking about opportunity, but one of the things that we have is the Work Advisory Committee. And one of the things that significant thing about what we do there is, when we know that there are specific job opportunities in areas, we can work with you to actually identify individuals that could qualify for that type of employment and get them prepared to compete to apply. So that's a very specific something that we do at the center, and I think there will be room for opportunity for the Work Advisory Committee to do those boot camps for different employment opportunity, because our expectation is, when we don't do a boot camp just to do a boot camp, we do a boot camp that's going to lead to a specific opportunity. So as opportunity arise that we've been talking about tonight, we want to be able to prepare community members for those opportunities, and so that they could be it will increase their chances for employment. And wherever those opportunities present themselves, especially in public sector and in other areas of employment, where employment opportunities, living wage employment opportunities are available or become available. So we had some other questions for Supervisor Mitchell, but we can ask another question to you, Council Member Price, and that's similar to that's what they're dealing with the Olympics. There'll be plenty of opportunity when the Olympics come around. With the Olympics coming to LA, and the federal infrastructure bill in the city is set to see significant growth and investment in the coming years. How are you leveraging these opportunities to bring jobs to your district?
Well, thanks for that question. I chair the Council's Economic Development and Jobs Committee. And while I'm concerned about certainly jobs and opportunities in CD9, it really is a citywide kind of view and concern. But I'm confident that we're going to be able to leverage opportunities, based on things we've been able to do in Expo Park now, with the renovation of the Coliseum, the Bank of California Stadium, with the Lucas Museum. We have to be intentional. We have to be very specific. You may have read the paper today that the organizing committee has a draft agreement that the city council is going to be approving. Well, this draft agreement, it makes some very general claims about equity, about involvement, about inclusion, about small businesses, about minority businesses, but there are no specifics. And so, again, it's going to be important that we hold the organizers' feet to the fire, making sure that we are involved in that process of providing input for what the rules are going to be, what the expectations will be. But I'm confident that we know that there are going to be an expansion of opportunities for small businesses. We want to make sure that they are involved in every aspect of the Olympics, the Olympic effort, from providing goods and services. I serve on the ad hoc committee, so I will be a voice. And so, again, use me as a conduit. Feel free to contact me, contact the office if you have a specific question or concern that I can raise during this preliminary period. But I want to invite you and encourage you to weigh in yourself. You know, the file number, the council file number is 150989. And so there's an opportunity for you to go on record expressing your concerns about employment, expressing your concerns about business opportunities, expressing your concerns about how resources are going to be allocated to assist small businesses, nonprofit businesses, et cetera. You can also visit the website, lacouncilcomment.com, again, to make specific comments about this agreement. It's 7 years away, but now is the time that we have a chance to really help shape what this program is going to be. There are going to be, thousands and thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars of jobs, and millions of dollars expended. And we want to make sure that the Black folks get their fair share. There's no guarantee they will, but if we don't advocate, if we don't be forceful, if we don't make sure that our concerns are addressed, they won't be. So again, let me just encourage you, contact the LA Council comment line, lacouncilcomment.com, or the file number, again, for the Olympics. This is for the Olympic contract. That file number is 15-0989. Hopefully by the end of the year, the agreement will be ratified by the council, and it will include your ideas, your suggestions, your concerns to make it most effective.
Thank you so much. I just want to echo a statement that was made earlier, and that is, those who are closest to the problem should be closest to the solution. And so how are you ensuring that those who are on the front lines of Black jobs crisis are closest to the solution? I think I'm happy with the level of discussion that we've had tonight. I think it puts us one step closer. So I welcome either of your responses.
Oh, sorry, just real quick, Ted, we're gonna do a quick adjustment. We're gonna do a few audience questions, and Jeremiah's gonna do a few audience questions, and then we'll pass it back for the final panel question. So Jeremiah's gonna kick us off with a couple of questions from the audience that we hope y'all can answer for us tonight.
Yes, of course. So right now, what I'm seeing in the chat is there are a lot of responses that center around public holding you accountable, the public seeking you out. How are you directly reaching out to Black workers in a way that doesn't pull the full onus on them? That's one of the questions. I can read it again. There are a lot of responses that center around the public holding you accountable, the public seeking you out. How are you directly reaching out to the Black workers in a way that doesn't pull the full onus on them?
Yeah, no, the onus should never be on the people who need help, right? That's not how this works. We've all got to do our part. We've got to step up. We've got to be ready to seize opportunities. My office, just in our first 6 months, has held a number of job fairs, partnering with other offices, partnering with EDD, making sure that folks have unemployment resources they need while they seek out job opportunity resources. We're connecting with College Promise in our community colleges. We're connecting with UCLA in the Cal State systems, making sure that there's a pipeline into training. We're connecting with union jobs and apprenticeships, making sure that we pay that hero pay back to the folks who are on the front lines working. You know, I was thinking, you know, looking at Julia, I'm thinking about 2015, and I'm thinking about, you know, home care workers. And I'm thinking about how, you know, the fight for 15 is long over and the fight for 20 is too late. You know, if we keep up with inflation, we should be at 25 plus already. And so we're working at all of these things. But for me, I'm just out and I'm present. I'm walking around. You know, in fact, my district is one of those weird districts where I got a good, decent amount of white folks on the west side. And Westwood Village is upset because they only see me in Lamert Park. They don't see me walking down Westwood because they see me where our folks are, talking to our small businesses, talking to our people on the streets, trying to figure out what we can do at the state level to get the resources where they need to be. And so the onus is not on Black workers to solve this crisis. The onus is on Black workers to be ready for an opportunity to open up, to seize it, and to maximize it, and then leave the door open for the next person.
So, Councilor Price, I actually have one question in the Q&A for you. It says here, usually developers come to get approval for big developments with City Council. These projects are usually approved to be done by the trades. Is there a reason why there hasn't been any language to have conditions in place to hire Black workers? Have there been conditions also applied to the union trade leadership?
Yeah, well, you know, that is a problem we've been having sometimes with our labor partners when we call out the need for more Black workers on these projects. Frequently, there is compliance, and folks say, "Oh yes, and no problem. We want to do that. We can't find." You know, we certainly work with the Black Workers Center and other organizations that are providing outreach, that are providing information about resources. But we can't give up. And I'm not going to say that all of our efforts have been successful. They haven't, but we keep trying. And the fact that we have been instrumental in creating more local hire opportunities at projects in the district, I think is significant. The fact that we've been able to encourage local individuals not only to work, who are living in the area, to work there and get a job, have a career opportunity. And so it is a challenge, but it's one that I'm up for. And again, working collaboratively with other electeds, other nonprofit organizations, other community-based organizations. That's how the changes are sustained and move forward.
Okay, now I have one more question for the both of you. Coming from our good member, Brother Kirby Washington, do you think it's possible that we can start to dismantle enough of LA systemic and structural racism more, and not to depend so heavily on minority trainings that have long record of failure?
Short answer is yes. I always keep the faith. I mean, as Councilmember Price mentioned, the largest universal basic income pilot that he launched in his district came from 150 million we took from the LAPD, right? This taking from systems of harm and putting into systems of opportunity is how we deconstruct this. Taking these from the systems that subjugate, break, and confine our bodies and putting them into the systems that uplift and promote healthy and thriving communities is how we break that systemic hold in our city. There are some days, I'm not gonna lie, I wake up and I'm a little cynical. And the reason is because the problem is so large, and it's not just LA, it's the state level. I don't know if y'all know this, but we spend $13 billion a year just on state corrections. And this year at the state, there was a vote to add $500 million in new expenditures in state corrections, pay raises to corrections workers. And I'm all for Black and brown workers, but I'm tired of only finding jobs for our folks that involve incarcerating or killing our folks another way. So I was the only assembly member who didn't vote for that $500 million to go to the corrections budget this year. But if I'm only one of 80 standing against it, it means we got a lot of work to do to move these resources to the things that matter. But I keep hope. Even on those cynical days, I keep hope. I keep hope because the Black Workers Center is active. I keep hope because I know Julia Smith is out in these streets. I keep hope because everywhere I go, our community has always kept hope, right? We've been down before, but if we keep pushing, we can make these changes. And whatever you need from me, you have it. And I hope whatever I need from you, I can come here and share in this space because I can't do this alone. Councilmember Price can't do this alone. And if there's anything Supervisor Mitchell said that sticks with us, is that if we don't hold each other down, we will be erased. From elected officials down to unemployed, we will be erased.
You know, in terms of accountability and accessibility, I go back to the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department that we created. It was really a monumental effort that said, hey, city, we're going to look at ourselves and see how we can be better, how we can make improvements, how we can make changes. And so this audit that's being conducted is significant. You know, it's taken a little while to get off the ground, but it is going to provide the first comprehensive snapshot of how racism is working in our city and how it needs to be eradicated. And so, you know, again, I'm hopeful for the future. I think that this department is going to make a difference, but it's going to make a difference if individuals hold it accountable, if they are involved, if they are aware, and if they are willing to express themselves in ways that they haven't before. So I'm hopeful for the future. I think that the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department is going to be an important tool that we can use to make sure that Black folks are getting their fair share of resources in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you very much for your response, Councilmember Price. We have a final question for the two of you. There are Black workers here today and across the state that are ready to work and are unemployed or underemployed. As we close, can you share what you would like to say to those workers ready to work and how community members can support your efforts in addressing the Black job crisis?
First thing I'll say is that Herman Jones is on this call with me, and we'll do another job fair. That's what we can do immediately, is try to connect folks to work, and we'll bring as many different employers as we can to do that. 7 years ago, I was slanging Pazookies at the Fox Hills Mall, right? And now I represent the Fox Hills Mall in the state legislature. So know your conditions can change rapidly if you keep the vision, keep the faith, and are ready for the opportunity. And my job as your elected officials to try to provide as many opportunities as possible, change the rules, the policies, and the regulations around the game so that opportunity comes to our community in ways it hasn't before. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. But in the immediate, we're going to work on the job fair. And Black Worker Center, if you want to do this together, let's do a big one. And let's do it start of the year. And let's find everyone we can who needs to hire folks and make sure that they know Black folks are ready. Because I'm tired of hearing that our people don't work hard and other people are hardworking and we're lazy. And that's all rooted in white supremacy and racism. And we're ready to work. We're here to work. And I know in this country, nobody gonna talk about how Black folks work when we built the damn thing. So whatever I can do to help, I will. And Herman, let's circle up with the Black Worker Center. I know you hear me, so we can get a really big job fair going for the community because we need it.
Yeah, I share that. I just hope that the members of the Black Workers Center use me as an instrument, as a tool. You know, I'm on the one of 15 council members. You know, I chair the Economic Development and Jobs Committee. I'm on the Budget Committee. I'm on the Ad Hoc Olympics Committee, on the Homelessness and Poverty Committee. So, you know, again, you use the access that you have, use the access you have to talk about specific programs, specific policies, changes, what things are working well, what things need to be changed. You have access. You got access. You got someone who's on the inside and who's willing to work with you and for you. But it's got to be that kind of partnership, I think. Sometimes good cop, bad cop. You know, sometimes we have to do these machinations with the state versus local. But it's important that we know we're on the same team, that we're trying to achieve the same goals. My office is aligned with the concerns of the Black Worker Center. That's why I'm participating in this event, and that's why I look forward to working with you as we move forward.
Thank you again. And now we have come to our close. I want to thank all the panelists. I want to thank my co-host, Mr. Ted Booker, all the viewers, and especially all of the members of the Los Angeles Black Worker Center. I'm so proud of you tonight and what we've accomplished, because we're not looking back. We are moving forward No breaks, all pressure. We've made our point very clear. We will hold them accountable and we'll be accountable too. And we know that the only way we can hold elected officials accountable is if we engage them. Ted?
Yes, also, my hope is that those of you that have not decided to take a proactive stance, that you will do that tonight. And one of the ways that you can do that is to become a member. Go to lablackworkerscenter.org and to become a member, or to be able to, and just to donate. It's important that we work as a collective and that we help to move the needle forward. The Black Worker Center, one thing I mentioned earlier, why I became a member and why I get involved in this work. We're very strong advocates on the cause, but now we're looking to move the needle one step forward for tangibles. We want to see some tangibles. We want to be able to talk about in the writings, the publishing works that we do, the successes, just how our public officials have helped us, and just how just talk about the types and quality of jobs that Black workers have been able to obtain, and the change that is happening in the community. But that can only happen when we all band together and work as a collective and create a win-win situation for everybody. We can only win when we create a win-win situation for all parties concerned.
Well, once again, I want to thank everyone for your time, for your leadership, for making your voices heard. I look forward to working, in the future, protecting jobs and moving with force. We mean serious business. We're not talking about it. We're not just woke, we're active. So thank you once again to everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.